Really?
Bob, you good? All right, it's Monday, June 2nd, 2025, 10 o'clock, regular session of the County Board of Supervisors. The first item is the agenda and the minutes of May 27th.
I move to approve.
We have a motion with a second to approve the agenda and minutes presented. Any further comment? All in favor? Aye. Public comment? Go on to new business, Mr. Auditor.
Claims are prepared and in front of you. You approve as presented.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve claims presented. Any further comment there? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Payroll.
No payroll.
Drainage.
We have one new drainage work order for DD 31. Looks like it's about a sinkhole. And we recommend that Bolton Mank goes out and investigates.
Move to have Bolton Mank investigate.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item number 3, which is drainage for Bruce Whitman. Any further comment there? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 4.
This looks like it's for DD 57. It's a change order and a pay application that the project engineer has submitted to you for approval.
I'll move item number 4, A and B as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Drainage District 57, the change order and the pay application as presented. Any further comment there? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 6 is Nikki here? No, she's not. County Treasurer. This looks like an abatement on taxes on a mobile home out at Gracious Estates on Eisenhower.
Per the recommendation of our county treasurer, I would move to approve as presented.
I will second.
Motion and a second to abate the taxes as presented. Any further comment there? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 7, Heather's not here, but basically we did this the last 2 years, I believe, Michelle.
I think so.
And we are basically the fiscal agent for North Iowa Children's Alliance at no cost.
I move to approve authorized chair to sign.
I'll say it.
Motion and a second to sign the fiscal agent agreement as presented. Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
You got it. Items number 8 and 9 are DNR manure management report. Here.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve items 8 and 9 and forward on to the DNR as presented with no changes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. So Brandon, we're gonna jump in with you.
Sure.
On item number 10.
Hi, good morning to start with. Right now, the guys are working a lot on Balsam Avenue for the rag bar route, getting the shouldering done out there. Mason City is also working on the route, Mason City's Bill Ride. I think that's this weekend. We're trying to get the shouldering, some of this stuff done on that road, so that's ready to go for them. So that's gonna take a lot of time. It's just really tedious work to do that. Plus the roads that they've chosen are higher traffic roads, so we had a follow vehicle with the signage on it saying shouldering. They're trying to avoid people skipping around us and getting between the trucks and calling in saying that we broke the windshield. So we have all the proper traffic control out there, and we talked with the sheriff's department, and they're willing to send a deputy out there if people aren't, paying attention and driving reasonably around us to try and avoid some accidents, some issues out there. So if you see anybody upset about county vehicles being in the way, it's our shouldering operations trying to get that stuff done, but I think it'll be over with pretty quick. We'll get it done the next couple of days here. Other than that, there's a bunch of tile work that we're working on and crossroad tubes that seem to keep growing new holes. So that's taking up the majority of their project time. It's just chasing those down.
These new work orders or?
Yeah, for some reason, yeah. This rain that we're getting is bringing to light a lot of issues, usually what happens. So we're just playing catch up to try and get rid of them as fast as we can. None of them are huge projects, but they all just take time and they all need the same equipment. So it's limiting what you can get done because there's only so much. I mean, we still use the big excavators for the smaller tile projects if they're not being used for other stuff. So it's not like we're just waiting around. We're just,
You got two of them now, right?
yeah, I got two big ones and a little one. Yep, so stuff is still getting done. It's just, it feels like chasing your tail sometimes with these tile, because as soon as you fix one, well, like we've fixed two at the end of last week that were abandoned tiles, but the problem is they were cut off in the field. They blew a hole in a ditch and then it was sucking the dirt away through the remainder of the tile that was still functional. So you gotta dig those up and cap those. So essentially you didn't really gain anything because it's an abandoned tile, but you still had to take the time to do it because it was undermining the shoulder. So it's just a bunch of stuff like that. Chasing down some utility hits on where the fiber and the power lines go through tile. Just a lot of time sink stuff is what's been going on over this last week and probably what's going to continue this week, to be honest with you. Other than that, I've been going out to the fairgrounds with the projects that we're working on out there with Mark. And I guess if you guys don't mind, I'm going to turn it over to him to kind of talk about some of the projects that proposed improvements out there and things that cost a little bit of money that would make probably a pretty good difference out there.
Go ahead.
All right, well, thanks. Just some quick background. I try to do a community service project once a year. 3 years ago, I did the egg loft house and I hauled in 34 loads of dirt so they could landscape that. And then last year I did the trolley park in Clear Lake. They had all the trees growing up through their railroad tracks. I brought my equipment down and we cleared all that out so they can go all around that. I met a guy from Colorado. Yeah, I was flying out through Colorado. I landed for fuel and he said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Clear Lake, Mason City, Iowa area." And he goes, "Oh, Mason City. My wife, daughter, and I, we go to the big horse events there several times a year." And he goes, "Nice facilities, but man, the campground could use some help." And I never even gave it a thought. I went out there and happened to be out there. There was a guy stuck in the mud at one of the campsites. So kind of a call to arms. I thought, I've got the equipment, I've got the time. So I'm volunteering 100% that. And what I'm trying to do is quick, basically two projects. It started because of the quick star overburden that got positive in this area here. We'll call that project area 1.
Back by the water tower.
Right, and there's some drainage issues with that ditch. The trees all grew in. The Conservation Commission cut a bunch of those down. And anyway, we need to bring that back to life. But the nice thing is we've got a lot of clay and a lot of soil that we can use to go in over the top of some of the camp RV sites. So if we turn the page, it just shows that area. My suggestion is once I'm done with that, you can either put gravel on it and use it for overflow parking. 2 weekends ago, it looked like Sturgis for horses out there. I never saw so many horse trailers parked every which way. It was crazy. But, or we can get that level, get it to drain to the east and follow that drainage ditch out.
To start, Josh got this part done so far, right?
Just the saplings cut. It's filled up with rock and
They
stuff.
go to Eisenhower,
That's tough. That's even tough shit.
be taking trees out of there too.
Well, we will be out from that trail.
There was a lot of crap, full ties and chunks of cement, railroad tires.
Stuff.
And I don't know who to talk to, who's in charge of the fairway, but if we could get all those tires into one area and then maybe get a camp, all some landfill.
Like everybody else.
There's that many tires.
The guys that race aren't supposed to throw them there, but they've been pitching them over the fence and fall down and crash.
There's enough willows that have grown up that you can't even see it.
Yeah.
Because I went back looking at all this stuff the other day and the willows are so thick you can't even
I
see
think
it.
that's why they quit going any farther. The claims.
And just right in this area too, Mark,
Yeah.
I noticed there was a bunch of chunks of, I don't want cement, but looked like that's old white tile.
Yeah. A whole bunch
I don't know where that
PVC and
came from at all. I asked Brandon, he don't know either. It's like,
Well, Brandon and I are talking a little bit about it. I think you should come off of the northeast corner and just go across that field with drain tile. and then that can get all cleaned up and be done someday next year or something.
Easy to do.
It really wouldn't be very hard since there's no utilities out there. It's just the pit area for the racetrack.
I could cut the ditch easy enough, and Matt Abrams, a good friend of mine. So the next page is the one that really concerns, I think, from a cost standpoint. And again, I'm not charging for any of my time, equipment, or anything, but we do, if you look at that map, there's 1, 2, 3 basic RV parking sites. One is new, I call that the northeast area. And that's just, right now, it's just.
Just west of the new building, I mean.
Yes. That's where that dually got stuck last 2 weekends ago.
I suppose with all those roofs, it's dumping just a bunch of water right there.
Yeah,
It shouldn't be in just a bad spot.
yeah, and
Low spot and it's just nowhere to drain.
I talked to Kristen on this roof. I'm gonna rock that. I don't have that in this proposal for these, but I don't know that. Sure. I'm gonna make that a little flatter. It's a pretty steep slope. Flatten it out a little lot. But here are what these orange cones are. I just started bringing some clay in to build that up. And then in front of those orange cones, we're just gonna wanna run it. I think we can get by with a 4-inch
It's like it's small, just let water go away.
But my quote includes a double wall tile 4-inch bed, so it'll cost actually less. But in front of here, this ditch isn't as bad, but, and that's the southwest area, but the northwest area, that's a pretty steep ditch. And people have ripped their sewer systems off the bottoms of their campers trying to go through it. And because it's just pedestals in an open field, that was once a field, it's, they park kind of every which way. Anyway, I just feel that tiling that will basically get rid of the water. Where it's red, where it goes across the road, that tile is completely plugged. I took a sawzall and cut the end of it off. And you look on this picture. I don't have it on there like that. But right here, I made a French drain because there was no water coming to it from the ditch. And I've got a T in there and a big orange tape. I can reopen that up and we can connect it all the way through. But that one that goes under the road will have to get it up, and that's not at all eligible. So
That's been that solid for so many years. It's unlikely the jitter will be able to get through it. I mean, we can try, but it's not real likely.
How about, Paul Dennis, is he set up to work with you guys yet?
But I've been talking with him. He doesn't have any date in mind yet, but yeah, I'll definitely meet out there
Did you
with
make Mark aware of that? Or?
the back truck from the city. They might come try and back some rocks out of the immediate area next to the.
Yeah, those drains are all loaded with, right, you can see it squirting out the tile that goes into that ditch.
Brandon thought Jet would probably pack it further, so.
Yeah. So on the campsite, so just north of that pipe he was talking about is clogged. That ditch, like I said, is pretty drastic. And I don't know how, one of the reasons why campers park crazy out there is they try to avoid going across that and damaging themselves. So putting in these sticks of 8-inch tile out there will enable him to put straight in campsites out there so that people know where they're supposed to be and have a relatively stable base so they don't get stuck in nastiness out there. So it would greatly improve the camping situation out there.
Well, like a campground.
Yeah.
And once you're done, I'd raise the price to $50 a night,
Yes.
based on what I've learned.
Cheap.
Yeah, 35 now.
I also suggested to them that they do like, Josh just started out of conservation this year with the online reservation type thing. And he was hesitant, or they were hesitant on doing it because of the campsite shape. That it was,
This would open up those campsites a huge amount by buying the tile and letting them put this over the top of it. They'll have those be utilized correctly.
I funded 100% of the first site that I just completed. I just planted grass seed on it yesterday. And I did that because I wanted to show as an example what the sites really could be like. So thank you. No worries. Yeah, no, I feel.
volunteers.
But the fair board is actually in charge of this area, correct?
Yep.
Not us.
They have jurisdiction. we try to help them out where we can.
But don't they get the rock from you, from the
They do.
county?
They can, yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I don't know, forgive me, I don't know how all that works. I'm just,
Yeah.
what I'm up against is,
Yes.
they don't have rock and we do, and you're up against time trying to get this done. And no, I like the proposal, and I think as long as we work with Brandon, he just needs to document accordingly, and then we work with our bookkeeper in kind. It's basically Cerro Gordo's part with you. And I think we've done things like these in the past, and it's a huge win-win, right? The public-private partnership makes a lot of sense anytime we can. So
Need to coordinate with the fair board to make sure we get all our i's dotted and t's crossed, basically.
yeah, and I can meet with them too, just like we're doing now.
I personally want to thank you too. I think it's exceptional with
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do it. Just me.
the fairgrounds. It's got a lot of potential. It's just been ignored for years and years and
See, every time my wife says, you need to sell that bulldozer, I always say, honey, I can, I got a project.
yeah, now it's so 16.
yeah.
So anyway, I feel comfortable. Brandon knows what we can and can't do. And so I feel comfortable granting you the authority to work with the fairgrounds and Mr. Holt to make sure that we're above board to get this done as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I'll talk with them too.
Thanks to my colleague.
Well, thanks for your time, you guys.
So somebody join us online?
Yes, they just.
Okay.
You're out there.
No, we're getting ready for a big, NATA flight training assignment this weekend, so I had to go clean my hangar. But thank you, guys.
10:15, we got the joint drainage district with 113 and 123.
I already hit it.
Well,
Can you guys hear us?
old tile sitting there.
Yes.
I hear
The
you.
owner will start getting rid of the barn and all that, well, then he changed his mind.
Anna, who's lead? And it's Hancock and Franklin again?
No, it's DD 113.
Hancock and us.
Differently.
So it's good.
Hey, Chris.
How's it going today?
Good.
Who's chair over there this year?
What's that?
Who's chair over there this year?
I am.
So, can we share who's all present again?
We are. We had a room full of people, so we were just finally getting to where we can hear you now, Chris. So we'll start.
Okay.
So it's Supervisor Jermelin, Ray Hans, and Greiman. And then our auditor, Michelle, drainage clerk, Ann, engineer, Jeremy, and 2 members of the public. We have several people on our go-to meetings, with one being from the press.
All right, on Cerro Gordo, we got supervisors, Callanan, Jean F. and Watts, and our county engineer, 2 people from our administrative department, Hannah from auditor, deputy auditor Bob, and 2 members of the public. So that said, who's leading this? Anna, are you leading this?
Yeah, so someone put in a request for easement through drainage district right of way, 113, 123.
Can you hear Hannah okay?
Yep, you can.
Okay, go ahead.
And so it's recommended that you guys, assign an engineer to look into this. Basically, that's all that needs done.
So we assign an engineer?
Yes, and
Yeah.
per, Adam's memo, Tyler Conley from Bolton and Mink is aware of the project and has agreed to serve if you guys so move forward.
We know Tyler. Mhm.
I'd make the motion to approve and appoint Tyler Bolton and Mink as the engineer on this project.
Do we have a-
second.
Rayon seconds. We have a motion and a second to appoint the drainage district engineer, Tyler. Any further comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All
All
eyes
eyes
and Hancock.
and all eyes in Cerro Gordo. Anything
Casey,
else,
that was
Anna?
you who made the motion. I was just
Yeah.
curious, that was Casey. who made the
Yeah, it was
motion.
me.
All right, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
So we'll go back down to Brandon. Did you have anything else under yours before we move on? I was, okay.
The
I
only
was just
thing,
gonna ask you,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
it, and maybe we have to check with Tyler. It still looks like DD1, they haven't put the asphalt down on the bike path.
Yeah, that's strange.
And maybe they did. There's just orange cones out there.
Okay.
Looks like it's being just marked as that. So will you follow up with that? Because we need that done sooner rather than later.
It's that time of year.
Yeah.
How are they doing on the new road there, Brandon?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't even update you on that. Paving is done. We're waiting on shouldering and pavement marks. So sorry, in my brain, the paving was over with, so the project.
Done in another week or?
Yeah, should be about a week away from completion on that.
Rain coming.
That works better for shouldering now, so that's fine. Yeah, it actually helps a lot.
Your equipment back up to snuff?
Except for one motor grader that mysteriously bent a bunch of valves. Nobody can figure out how. So they thought they were gonna have to replace the motor and they pulled the head off and there's no damage in the motor at all. It just all of a sudden 4 valves are bent in the head. So they're gonna fix that and see what happens.
And you got them open?
Yeah, particular.
And the only other thing I briefly mentioned on it, the work orders as far as these are all new ones. You got a couple of rain days.
Yeah.
They got stuff to keep them busy.
Yeah, unless it's absolutely downpouring, they'll just keep working. And there's enough of these ones that are coming in right now. They just gotta keep going. So unless it's high pressure, we have pumps, we can usually keep up relatively decent with stuff and even when it's raining.
So if there's no other questions from Brandon, Carl, Casey?
Yeah.
We'll go on to item number 6, which is the, consider the closure of Linden between South Shore and Lakeview.
Okay, so in the past, I haven't been happy in the past a couple of times we've closed for the block party, how it's been handled, and I thought it was most appropriate if it's non-emergency event to bring it before the board to vote on it, so that the public also has a chance to voice opinions and for or against it. So that's why this time I brought it to you guys instead of just handling it any other way. So I guess it doesn't directly affect me, I guess. So I don't know. I don't really have a big opinion either way on this. I mean, it's just kind of a precedent kind of thing. So if we grant block parties for this person, we kind of got to be ready if somebody else wants to do this somewhere else.
So go ahead.
I was gonna say Tom and Michelle weigh in.
Yeah, I guess go ahead.
Yeah, I think there was no party last year. I think the last one was 2020. Excuse me. I do understand there's been some issues with other neighbors that were brought up. In our criteria in the code, it doesn't get into if there's calls when they're having these parties, if that could potentially negate them getting a permit the next year, which obviously as we redo the zoning code, we could add provisions of that nature. Right now they would be, obviously they would comply with the code based on 2023. Again, we can, if there's problems out there, I'd say the neighbors should call the sheriff's office, have them stop out. If I'm around, I could go out there and do a drive-by to make sure they're complying with what was granted the permit, but that's kind of where we're at. Currently, the way it's set up, there isn't a negative provision to say if you're getting calls because you're blocking roads or too loud past the time. There isn't really something that says that following year you may not get a permit.
So on that, I forgot to tell you the proposed date is July 19th. The party is supposed to go from 5:30 to 10, and he asked if he could have the road closed from 4:30 to 11 to give him time before and after to close it, clean it up.
Have you done it in the past?
The last time we did it, it was the same way, an hour before and after. We gave him barricades to close the road, and he had a permit through planning and zoning to have the party.
Yeah.
But my requirement was that he got the party permit first, and then he gave us the working right away after to make sure they had everything that was required for their portion.
Which is probably what we should do again.
Yeah.
I'd let you folks go ahead and give us
Yeah, we have some good, big concern.
The only thing is, Kirk, we state your name for the record.
Dr. Kirk Nelson, 5350 Lakeview Drive, kitty corner from Johnson's where the Sparty is. Um, This is Linda. Linda lives next to him on the other side, and Ned had a good relationship with this man who's a kind of a bully and has caused a lot of problems in that area. Each time he's had a party, that somebody's parked in front of my garage, so I can't even get in. My son can't come in. This last year, we had a woman call me, want to know if you look at my cameras, see what happened to her son, and he got in an accident there. He's hearing impaired, and they got mad at him and wanted to pull him out of the car. She wanted to prove that he was harassed and that. But our biggest concern is they park in the public approach, which they're allowed to do, but to get out in the flowers that we've planted for 35 years. We've had things constructed with beer cans or anything else, fireworks going off, but the underage drinking is a concern also, but I can't prove who is, who isn't. But anyway, all the streets and driveways must remain fully accessible and safety purposes. She has a health issue. If she can't get out, it could kill her. Simple as that. And they won't try to decide which road are you going to totally cut off. Got to be able to get in and out. It wasn't the last two parties. Not all neighbors have not had to sign a permit approving the party. Many are against it. Johnson has been known as a bully and is frequently active to block the alley as vehicles and blocks streets, fills public approach with his vehicles, trailers. Is not entitled to throw a party that overflows into public spaces. Either Johnson or his guests reportedly harassed a disabled person. There's a police report on that. Attempting to drive through and apparently got an accident there. His mother told me they were trying to pull him out of his car. Well, he couldn't understand what they're doing. He's hearing impaired. There's a complaint on police have a file on that. He owns a farm in Britt. We don't understand why he can't have it there. They won't bother anybody else. He's got plenty of room there and won't disrupt the neighborhood or traffic or neighbors. Last time the party was hosted, he set the beer alcohol station on a driveway, which was not legal, putting that neighbor at risk for recourse in case of accident. The sound violations are allowed at times, others not. You put it on a public approach, you put a camera on the public approach and face it at my house. And I called and they made him remove that. Their situation, she had, since she left for the winter, she has a property line where our flowers are. He took all the bricks out, threw them in her driveway, and he put a cement one. I was told it had to be surveyed. There was no survey done. I don't know where the line is between her house and his house. That's something that should be done, but never was done. Because I'm not concerned, I can't even get in my driveway, and so many people use the invitation to anybody. So it's a lot more than just that block that can help. I'll be a bad guy for complaining, but I gotta be able to get in my house, I gotta be able to get in and out.
Neighbors, but Linda, did you have any comment or?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm the only
Wayne,
one that
if you
lives.
will, for the record, Linda.
Oh, Linda's maybe, and my address is 15206 Linden Street. And primarily, I'm the only one that's there. One neighbor comes at a house that they just come overnight. We never see him, they never do anything. I don't even know how he got his name to get or find out who he was. Another neighbor is very disabled. He doesn't come. So they don't know. And this neighbor told us last year or the time before, as long as you leave my driveway clear, I'll let you have the party. That's where the alcohol was all set up. He had no access. There was nothing there. And my big concern is he's really just a bully and gets his way no matter what. When I went giving my access to my computer, he wanted my number and how he could just use my access. When I called the police, they said, if he gets picked up for any pornography or anything, you will go to jail. He will not go to jail. So what he did was to go back in my yard, went through the alley, public property, put cable underneath, and then he put a dish out on South Shore. So we got cable free for years. Never, ever paid anything. And when I come and I live there, I said I was going to put something in the backyard, so I called the 800 number. Nothing was stated that there was anything underground. And he really gave me hell because I cut into his cable. Well, he wasn't paying for it. It wasn't his. It was, he was using it free. Now it's a public alley, but where he was putting the cable underground, now there's glass coming along, just big pieces of glass all along that area. It never was that way before. And so I just think there's so many things. And the one thing is, he has this farm 22 miles away that he can have this party at. And we have room for 12 people and one access. And otherwise, people have to walk at least a block or two. And he's giving cards out in Clear Lake to everybody. So if we're going to have hundreds of people there, do you think this could be a problem with the county? When both, all the traffic goes down one way. There were cars 2 years ago going both ways, parked on each side, so you couldn't get down. And I have a breathing problem. So if there's a lot of smoke, I stop breathing. I have 20 minutes to get to the hospital or use an EpiPen. Well, I don't have any guarantee that they're going to listen to me, or if I wait too long, I can't talk. And so I would die in 20 minutes. So my big concern is where there's a lot of alcohol, where there's a lot of drugs, where there's a lot of partying like they usually do, I'm not safe. So I'm just here mainly because, and then this other woman that had a son that got literally ripped up out of the car. That isn't fair to the public. I don't think at all. So my concern is, I need to live. I'm 80, but I'm just a new great grandmother. I want to live a little longer. And he is so opinionated and he's so outspoken that nobody else will say anything or go against it. And when I said, he says, sign this paper. And I said, no, I'm not going to sign the paper, sir. Well, he says, you have to. I said, no, the last police report showed there were accidents. I don't want it to happen again. And he hasn't talked to me since. But I just don't think it's fair for those people to have so much power and abuse people, and especially the hearing impaired. This young person didn't hear, so they were pulling him out of the car and he didn't know what was going on. And so I just think it's so unfair to the public when there's a farm 22 miles away that he can have hundreds of people there. Not anybody, but he has it where there's 12 parking places within a block. So my concern is smoking and alcohol should go together. And smoke, and we have lots of big oak trees. It's like an umbrella. It's all going to be there. So I either have to leave, and then I have a whole yard full of flowers. I don't want people on my property. I don't want them doing anything to my property. It's just a little cabin, but I don't feel safe with him there at all.
Thanks, Linda. Tom, do you care to elaborate anymore?
You know, one provision does say they close off traffic, but they must allow adjacent properties access to the property.
They did. They were like.
If you guys grant the permit, and nothing like that. As far as the rest of this, I don't know what the police were called about or not. Mr. Nelson, you said when your driveway was blocked, is that from Lakeview or is that the right of way that's going toward the top?
From both sides. Lakeview Drive is where I get in. It's one way.
So somebody's parking.
It's a one-way street.
I park in my drive, in my garage.
The park actually in on your
Yeah.
property.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
You
that
call
many
that sheriff?
cars there.
You call the sheriff, what happened then?
Much other than I don't know whose car was on.
Did they make anybody move?
Well, eventually, yeah, but, my son had to go to his mother, Mason said, because he couldn't get in.
But there was an accident and something happened and they run into each other going both ways on a one-way street and it was blocked. Then.
Regarding the permitting process, which is what we're not doing right now, correct?
Yeah.
So, and then essentially, which is still good, you guys came and, let us know what's going on. So in the past, you have not come to us in regards to closing the road. Right, so they've gone through the permitting process that we have, and then if they get the permit subsequently, you grant them the right to close.
Right. Yep.
So, has that said application been made, Tom and Michelle, for this? Correct.
Yes.
Okay. And then you visited with the petitioner for this?
No, we've not
Okay.
with them.
I mean, I think what a prudent thing to do would be in lieu of the concerns that have been raised here, we need to have a conversation about all the things that are not being met. There's a lot that you folks have expressed that we don't have the authority or jurisdiction to weigh in on, right? Whether good neighbor, bad neighbor, that's just not in our wheelhouse.
We're the only ones here, citizens of Cerro Gordo County. They're all from other counties.
They're all taxpayers though, too. So, I mean, just because we don't have the right to just pick, I mean, that's just, per our code, we don't have that.
Legally block both roads off.
No.
That's what's happening.
That's something we're gonna do.
So we have legally blocked both roads.
Yes.
Cerro Gordo County has blocked both roads.
We only.
Which two roads did we close?
Yeah.
No, but he said we were closing two roads, so I want to know which ones we're closing.
Apparently what happened is we closed Linden and then
Okay.
people with their parking ended up closing Lakeview. I think that's what it's called.
Right, it's a one-way street, only going one way.
Yeah, so they parked the way they parked.
They did, but we didn't. So there's, that's important to know. So when we act, we're closing one. So just, if others are being closed because of stuff, then we need to get the sheriff's department involved, right?
It takes a long time if I'm coming from Iowa City or somewhere else at night. I can't get in my house.
And that's a fair point. And so I think we need to make sure that if this permit is granted, and so far, short of us rewriting what we do on this, we're really not in a place to do that now, right? And so really all we can do is work through communication on the front end and subsequently communicate to the petitioner that if they're not in compliance in regards to where they're parking, then that's a problem.
We could add some stipulations. I mean, I know they're not addressed specifically in the ordinance, but we have some flexibility with that.
Yeah, and I think we need to do that on the front end. And then maybe something over the next several months, we can address in our zoning ordinance, because right now we just don't have those.
So when is this function?
July 19th.
We have time, so I guess,
Yeah.
but it'd be,
And we're not acting on anything today. We're just having this conversation.
Yes. My permit for the working right of way would not be approved at all without that being done first.
For sure.
There are no parking signs then along Lakeview? Does it say no parking?
Pardon?
Does it say no parking signs on Lakeview?
It says no parking even on my street because it's such a little street.
Yeah.
And there's just room for 2 cars to go down.
Yeah.
And those signs disappear a lot.
Oh, it just.
One way is definitely just one car.
And we have a couple of families, small kids there too.
Well, and obviously we need to, again, it's a public safety issue. If roads, whether you're talking EMS, whatever, those roads, so clearly the Lakeview cannot be blocked. I mean, period.
That was
it. Right, should.
And the work in the right of way permit, they give them permission to close Linden. I had specifically stated last time that they cannot block adjoining streets.
Yeah.
So,
But if you close that, she can't get out. She has emergency.
yeah, well, it won't be closed to her because she lives within it.
But I've got to get out of my car and get through maybe hundreds of people to get out.
And right now, again, the problem, the way our policy is written is that it really doesn't allow us that.
Do anything.
Because the way it's written is that as long as we have 75% or more of the adjacent property owner, and I understand your point that many of them don't live there, whatever.
They don't even know what it is.
He still has gotten those signatures, right? And so that's the way it's written now,
Right.
which could be a flaw in our system. And that's good, bad, or indifferent. That's just the way it is, right? And so that's what planning and zoning, when they're issuing these, it's based on what's been like that for a long time.
Right.
And so clearly something we need to address because you're bringing up,
Callahan is aware of the problem also.
what's that?
Callahan is aware of the problem. He's been for the last couple of years.
Who's that?
The county.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
I'll try to, I'll try to be more specific too. If we get to the point where this is issued, the work in the right of way permit, and try and make sure some specific.
You know, when the public
stipulations.
approaches on my requirement, when I built my house, I had to be back 12 feet from property. Across the property line for me, 3 feet. And I was told that they had a better attorney, so anyway, but they fill that public approach completely with cars, 15, 20 cars, which is illegal. It's on properties that the county owns. But they get out in my flowers and other things and had damage every year.
And he's planting trees in that public course. There might not be even 8 places to park for hundreds of people.
yeah, and for sure, all these things are good points that I'm guessing you've raised and we'll definitely, Tom and Michelle, in visiting with this, just have to make clear that, they need
If you have to go to the planning and zoning though, if they threw out her line or her property line and put its own.
I mean, that's the way it's written.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
can also put cement in the alleyway that now you have created. The alley goes straight through and he's got cement on your alley. So he just does things whenever he wants to. how he wants to.
right,
And it's not hurting anything, but it's just an example of how he does things. He does that way. And he blocked the alley for years and years and years. And that's just been changed in the last year.
Yeah, I've been getting after him for a while here. I think he finally figured out that the park that dock in there.
Oh, you're the awful man.
Yeah.
And so no one ever challenges him because when McKesson was coming to town. he
well,
had
so we
that-
gotta just unfortunately stay to the topic at hand, which is this particular request.
Yeah.
I mean, we can sit and talk about all the other things after this, but right now in the public setting, we need to stay on topic. So
Thank you.
I guess what I would say is Tom and Michelle, I think there's direction from the board as to what we want. And then obviously the two of you, at least from my perspective, that's what I'd like, but
I was gonna suggest, tabling this. Somebody would like to make a motion until Mr. Johnson comes down and sits down with Michelle or one of us, that it's tabled until.
Yeah, that's fine.
Concerns are addressed.
and it's kind of goofy, I think, the way it was written up. It probably, does it need to be I don't know. I guess it was worded as an action item, but the reality of it's what you've done in the past is planning and zoning, and then you have made the decision. So I'd make a motion to table.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to table. Any further discussion? I would just add, was that acceptable until Mr. Johnson comes in and has that conversation? Or,
Yeah, for sure. And with the folks that are here, I don't know if the two of you have any
Yeah.
opinions, because I've kind of filibustered this, so.
that's fine.
More about the area.
All in favor of table?
Aye.
Passes. Thanks for coming in.
And we'll keep in contact with you guys to let you know.
And I
how this
believe
is.
they have a list of the concerns as do we, so to say, so. Hopefully we can work out.
Thank you.
That said, any correspondence communication? Sounds good.
That's.
Motion and second to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
There's
Very good.